In this video, I explain my process of using generative AI as a tool to generate evidence for autoethnography or self-study. In my practice, I use this approach in my research to explore aspects of my experience that inform the way I understand the world. I also encourage my students to do the same, which helps them to access the deeper emotional characteristics of their personal experiences for their own research projects. This picture is a visual representation of my overall evidence generation process. My visual evidence generation process unfolds like the slow, attentive cultivation of a tree. Each cycle mirrors a stage of growth, designed to nurture creativity while anchoring critical reflection on the generative AI's outputs. Remember that creative artifacts help you to uncover layers of meaning that may not be easily articulated through words alone. You should therefore use this process to help you unlock insights into the deeper meanings you attach to your understandings of the world. I term the first stage of my process germinating. Start by grounding yourself in the soil of your own experiences to find your roots and plant your purpose for the inquiry. For example, in one of my studies, I considered who I thought myself to be as a teacher and researcher, explored the values I hold, the emotions my work stirs, and the constraints I often feel myself pushing against. Use these reflections as seeds or core motives to explore, and translate them into prompt cues for the generative AI to generate an initial set of images. Make sure to allow the generative AI enough space to experiment at this point, as you don't want to provide a fixed composition for it to create in advance. I term the second stage of the process branching. Using the initial set of images you created, examine your impressions or reactions when you look at them. For example, you might ask what feeling lands first, what appears right but unexamined, what stereotypes or cliches show up. This stage allows your exploration of yourself to deepen, letting your stories sprout and branch. I term the third stage of the process tending. Use your feelings from the previous stage to decide which areas of your picture need to change. Just as you would prune a young tree, adjust your prompts with care and intention to nourish nuance while trimming back the overgrowth of cliches. For example, you might ask the generative AI to focus more on a particular aspect or replace parts of the image that you felt represented a bias. I term the final stage of the process harvesting. For each cycle in which you generate an image with the generative AI, save the image and the conversation you are having with it. At the end, you want to make sure you have a full record of the initial prompts, any reactions you had, any changes you asked for, and all the images generated, forming a kind of seasonal journal for further exploration. This record becomes your evidence to be used not in isolation, but alongside the final images they helped you to cultivate, and any other methods you have employed in your study. In this way, you can reap the realizations of who you are, what you value, and how this influences the way you engage with the world. These are the images I harvested from my first attempt at this method. My identity as a teacher is shown on the left, and my identity as a researcher is shown on the right. There are many elements in these pictures that speak very deeply to me. For example, for the figure on the right, I wanted images which represented my goal to challenge entrenched norms, showcase possibilities, and combine ideas from multiple disciplines. The final figure generative AI and I co-created placed a woman in contemporary dress within a historic academic library as light falls through a high window. The context reflects the history of higher education, which I viewed as an ancient institution with possibilities. Her stance, shoulders squared, arms crossed, and gaze set, made me feel like it signaled my determination to pursue a different path in academia. In the midground, a second figure turns towards the same light, which I felt represented a quiet cue to the relational ambition of my research, influence not for power and privilege, but as an invitation. It is important to recognize that the insights you harvest through this process are unlikely to mirror those of others. After all, creative artifacts invite diverse interpretations, and something that feels intuitive or obvious to you may carry entirely different meanings for others. For example, the appearance of books might conventionally signal knowledge to you, but they may represent stillness or quietness to others. The value lies not in surface recognition, but in the deeper excavation of your own understanding of the world. This underscores the power of this type of collaborative creative exploration in meaning making. It enables you to surface assumptions, interrogate your beliefs, and render visible the often unspoken dimensions of who you are and how you know. It is also important to note that this method is dynamic, ongoing, and an evolving process. You will continue to tend your evidence tree, pruning branches, nurturing new shoots, and waiting for unexpected fruit to ripen. As you continue in your own research journey, remember that cultivating insight takes time. Generative AI is not the author of your story, you are. But it can be a provocative mirror, a creative companion, and a prompt for deeper reflection. Let your images speak, your roots grow deep, and your branches stretch wide. And above all, stay open to what insights might develop in the quiet spaces between the words and images. Thank you for joining me in exploring this creative process. May your evidence generation tree continue to grow into something unexpected, imperfect, and beautifully your own.